What's up guys, it's Drac, and we are back in the States, back at it with a bad hat it. We are checking out the Worker Harrier. This one just came over from my buddy Luke over at Out of Darts. This one sets you back about $185 on his site right now. I think that's on sale. Normally it's like $195, so 10 bucks off gets you an all-in-one blaster from Worker. In the past, Worker has been pretty hit or miss. Sometimes they have good product, sometimes they have bad product. The Worker Harrier is widely regarded to be one of their better offerings thus far. Right at around $200, it's reasonably affordable for a do-it-all competitive blaster, although very expensive if you're used to buying Hasbro stuff. So let's take a look at it, find out if it's worth $200. I think that we're expecting some assembly required. It comes in 3 colors. We got the orange one specifically because we feel like that looks the most, this is a toy and we want to play with it outside. In light of the constant reoccurring events in the United States, it's always important to have your relatively real steel silhouetted blasters look as toy-esque as possible, unless of course you play on a field of some form or fashion that's closed to the public. So we've got here some Worker stickers and some of the Worker darts. These are like Dart Zone knockoff versions. I don't actually know. I think these are the Gen 4 Worker darts. Ever since the Pro darts and the Adventure Force darts came out, I have not done a lot with the Worker darts, so I'm a little bit behind on the generations there. But inside the package, you get the entire blaster, a couple bundles here of different hardware. You can see here, this is ironically a color that I don't think is offered on the instructions here. Besides that, you're gonna get the blaster itself, a really cool, like snub talon. We used to make these mini mags out of in-strike mags. This just gives the blaster a really flush, really clean look. Now, as opposed to your normal kind of butterfly it open blaster style, this is still maintaining the breakdown system. It's not necessarily like a tribute to the Armalite platform in that it has an upper and a lower. It really has like a front and a back, so to speak. So with some brief assembly required, it is worth noting that the blaster is all metal internals from the start. So if you're wondering like, why do I pay $200 for this thing? You've got full metal pick rail here. This is, entirely machined pick rail and then coated. That's pretty nice. You've got all metal internals. If you look closely here, you can see that the front of the blaster houses all of the guts. Looks like it's also been pre-lubed. I don't know if that's necessary, but for those that don't know how to do it, that's not a bad idea to have that vac packed in there. But all metal internals, including a skinny pusher, as well as a metal pusher, metal priming bars, and then a metal plunger. So you could theoretically fit a lot of power in this blaster. However, the longest, largest blaster that it comes with, the one that achieves the highest FPS, is actually somewhat problematic in that the catch mechanism can't handle it over sustained periods of time. So, Worker makes product really fast, but what manufacturer is immune to the occasional release with a bug or a patch necessary? That said, everybody agrees that this blaster works beautifully with the mid and low tier spring offerings that it has. Let's take some of this hardware out, throw the attachment pins in, and get it set up. Alrighty guys, so we are out here with the fully assembled Worker Harrier. We're gonna break it down tip to tail. It's got modular barrel systems. These screw in and screw out, but to get at all of the internals, change the springs, change the barrel, you have to take it down. Now, it's not quite as easy to take down as other takedown blasters, but that comes with an added advantage. Instead of yoinking pins out, it's got these hex screws, and you access those with a conveniently located Allen key. It hides its own tool here, so it's not a toolless takedown, but in exchange, you have a very flush shell design a la Nightingale. It's very smooth, it's very comfortable. Comes with, like I said, 2 barrel options, 2 spring options. You realistically don't want to use that higher power level spring, so we are reviewing it with the nominal power level spring in its current form. Everything on it is metal, which feels really, really good. You've got a metal mag release here. You've got a metal trigger pull there into, of course, a metal catch. Now, you've got metal rails, which means that any real steel stuff that you want to slap on this will make it more tactical, but also you're not going to chew into any plastic or run the risk of anything like that. I wish Worker would get their tolerances in line because this is meant to be a push-fit barrel. Blaster comes with a scar if you happen to like rocking scars, and frankly, I think you kind of need it in this instance for the orange tip. It would be great if this locked on, but frankly, that's not even gravity fit on there. So for the purposes of this video, we're going to not have the scar on because frankly, any attempts to shoot it with the scar on, we would shoot the scar off, and that would wind up borking our numbers. Comes with 2 grips. We've got the vertical foregrip on. Right now, it's by far the most comfortable. Blaster does not have slam fire, which is an advantage or a disadvantage depending on how you like to play. What it does have, however, is it has an automatically retracting foregrip, and that's really nice. It's also got a little bit of power to it. You can kind of see through the blaster right there. This is the spring that they're using to auto retract. It's very comfortable. It's not going to be enough that if you have like a badly seated dart, it's not going to overcorrect that, but it's definitely a very nice feature, especially if you're going to be shooting a lot, if you're playing in multiple games over the course of like an entire day of war. That would be pretty nice. It's also got this foregrip if you want to be a real NERF sniper, but I'm not from Santa Barbara, California, and I'm not going to pretend that I am. So I would rather have the more tactical option. Now, the stock is not bad. When you consider that this is the free stock that it comes with, it's pretty good, but has a bad habit of catching hair. This is a standard M4 buffer tube, which means that you can put whatever you want on there. You could use one of our stocks, you could use one of Magpul's stocks, realistically anything you want. It's interesting that this doesn't have a rubberized texture and the grip does. The grip's rubberized texture is really nice. Reminds me of Dart Zone Pro blasters. However, I can't wonder why they didn't do it on the butt stock as well. It's just a little funky. Blaster has a safety, of course. I like to delete my safeties just because I don't find them to be overtly necessary in competitive and high performance grade blasters. I don't want the added interruption of wondering if my safety is on or off. Due to the pusher being a skinny pusher, you can insert your magazine at any point. There's no interference there. So right now we are in line, prime. Jeez. All right, so just to be clear, this is the longer of the 2 barrel configurations that comes with the blaster, and then this is the longer of the 2 spring constants that come with the blaster. Worker sells an upgraded spring. This is not the weakest spring that the blaster comes with. This is the most powerful thing out of the box. It's just, if you want to use their upgraded spring, we've encountered issues with that so far. We're shooting their darts for these first few shots, and then we'll switch to some max darts or some target darts after that. But let's put a few over. 197, 193. I guess that was all we had. Certainly pretty impressive, coming in right at that 200 FPS margin, which again, it's hard to classify these worker blasters these days. Like, are they a first-party manufacturer? I think it's hard to say that they aren't, and we should hold them to that level of kind of tolerance. However, they are definitely an aftermarket company still. So they're really in this funky gray area where they're not quite a domestic supplier or a full-blown, international toy dealer. They still work through wholesalers, but the quality of product is light years ahead of where it used to be with like the Swordfish and some of their early electronic work. Let's put some of these over. That's 190, 201, 190 again, 187, 198. So reasonable variability, but ultimately, this is every bit the professional grade blaster. You could use this in virtually any competition that I could think of. Whether or not you can get it down to the low enough end that it would be suitable for a humans versus zombies game, I have no idea, but certainly with a lower spring length in the lower spring constant, you could definitely get it down to like 150-ish for a super stock game. In terms of its overall accuracy, this is with not a scar, but let's just see if we can keep them in line over this floaty over here. I used to have some signage over here. Here, wait, we got all right, there's over here, there's a firebox. We'll go for the one farthest from us. No optics, just over it again, right. So it probably needs a scar, to be fair. That's a reasonable engagement distance for something like a competitive play. However, I think that the Worker Harrier is solid. One thing that we haven't mentioned just yet is the overall blaster's build quality, plastic thickness, like overall kind of aesthetic and sleek design is superb. This is clearly more in line with the Nightingale design ethos, and it is heads and shoulders above the stuff that Worker has been releasing so far. In many ways, I think that this, while the Swift probably has a higher top end of performance, I think that this obsoletes the Swift in many ways just because it comes with metal internals by default. It's a much more compact package. It's got far more tactical controls to it. It's not quite as large, and it feels really good. Feels really good to use. The built-in iron sights are solid. The massive amount of options here for flashlights, lasers, sights, red dots, etc., is really, really cool. And then the modular nature of taking virtually any stock and virtually any foregrip is not something that's to be looked down upon. Overall, if you have a $200 budget for a competitive blaster right now and you don't want to build something and tune it yourself, I think that this is tough to beat. It's a little bit more expensive than some of the Dart Zone Pro level options on the market right now, but certainly when compared to, I guess the rough equivalent would be the 2.1, it's hard to say that this isn't superior in its overall smoothness of prime and categorical functionality. So I think that this is a sweet offering. I'm very excited by it. I would like to see a couple things tightened up. I'd like to see a scar specifically made into this barrel, probably replace the stock on mine, and I'll throw a red dot on because, you know, you got to get those tactical points. But that's just my take on it. Have you already purchased a Harrier? Let me know what you think of it down in the comment section below. If you haven't already picked one up, let me know what you think of it. I think that it's a really cool offering, truth be told. And of course, there's no better place to pick one up domestically than my buddy Luke over at outofdarts.com. Show him some love. I know that he's got a full shipment right now, and he'll get you taken care of if you want to pick one up. Much love, blast on, Drac out.